Tonight on Y News. The Social Security system approves to grant 1,000 pesos pension increase among its members by January next year. The business sector presents its position and recommendations on the proposed charter change before the House committee hearing today.
More than 80 officials and personnel from attached agencies of the Department of Transportation have been relieved and suspended over their alleged involvement in corruption. The Department of Justice believes that Senator Laila de Lima's admission of her illicit affair with her former driver Ronnie Dayan will impact her drug and disbarment cases.
The Department of Health reports that the number of confirmed Zika virus cases in the country has now reached 33. PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa takes on a cameo role in Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto.
Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. It will be a promising 2017 for the pensioners of the Social Security system come January. Grace Cassin will tell us why.
The lower house and the Social Security system agreed to finally give the much-awaited pension increase for the retired members of the SSS. It will be given on January 2017 but only 1,000 pesos or half of the original proposal of 2,000 pesos. According to SSS Chairman Amado Valdez, the company as of now cannot afford to give the full amount. But he promised that SSS will give the remaining 1,000 pesos by 2020 to 2022 when the agency is able to secure additional fund for the pension.
The other 1,000 hindi muna kami hihingi sa Congress ng sa government appropriation because personally as chairman I want to test the ability of our administrative machinery. Kaya ba natin ito? Bakit the criticism is we are not collecting this much?
Mrs. Violeta is very happy after hearing the good news. She says her 2,000 pesos monthly pension is not enough to buy medicines and food.
Kami na ako'y natutuwa at malaking katagdagan din sa pensyon ng mister ko. Hindi na po nakakapagtrabaho yung mister ko. Yun na lang ang aming pang-suporta sa aming asawa.
Valdez adds that the implementation of this proposal can be done through a resolution while the law is being processed.
Ang request namin is hindi na in law but a joint resolution ng Congress urging us to grant the increase. Para sa ganon, kasi kung batas, it would violate yung contractual obligation ng SSS with the ones who are paying the contributions.
Meanwhile, the lower house assures that they will come up with a joint resolution as soon as possible. Grace Cassin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The business sector presented its position on the proposed charter change before the House committee hearing today. The group also presented its recommendations, which include lifting of restrictions on foreign ownership in mass media and relaxing the utilization of natural resources. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The House Committee on Constitutional Amendments has begun their consultations with various sectors for the proposed amendments of the Constitution. The business sector presented their position on the matter and recommends 7 amendments on the economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. These include opening the utilization of the country's natural resources to foreigners or foreign corporations.
You know, the natural resources owned by the state, by the government itself. But the utilization, the exploitation of that can be given to foreign companies or can be given to any other Filipino entity who can match and who can be able to exploit that.
They are also proposing the absolute foreign ownership of educational institutions, as the present constitution states that only the citizens of the Philippines may own such. The full management and ownership of a mass media by a foreigner is also being suggested by the business sector.
We think that Article 16, Section 11 should also go. That is investment on foreign restriction in mass media and advertising industries.
The committee will continuously undertake consultations with stakeholders regarding charter change. As of now, the technical working group will tackle the approved recommendation that the Constitution be amended by Constituent Assembly, and soon this will be presented at the plenary for discussions. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Department of Justice believes that Senator Laila de Lima's admission of having an affair with her former driver and bodyguard will impact her drug and disbarment cases. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Senator Laila de Lima's admission of her illicit relationship with former driver and bodyguard Ronnie Dayan will ease the burden of the prosecution. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre says the testimonies of believed drug lords that Dayan was collecting drug money for de Lima has become more credible.
It corroborated yung mga testimony ng mga inmates. Before, hindi mo paniniwalaan ng isang ordinaryong driver or ordinaryong bodyguard ay mangolekta.
4 complaints filed against de Lima for her alleged complicity in believed drug trade are now pending before the DOJ. But Aguirre says de Lima's admission to an affair with Dayan will have a greater effect on her disbarment case. Last month, a disbarment complaint was filed against the senator for gross immorality.
Ngayon wala nang dapat i-prove yung mga complainants sa disbarment sapagkat lumalabas na talagang siya'y nakiapid sa isang taong may asawa. Hanggat hindi annulled yan, ay nakikiapid ka sa may asawa. At yan ay sobrang immorality niyan. At ang Supreme Court dyan, dun sa mga mas mababa pang mga immorality, disbarment ang talagang pinaparusa sa mga abogado.
De Lima, however, insisted her record as a public official is untainted until she was falsely accused of having complicity in believed drug trade.
That's his opinion. It's a private matter.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Ombudsman stands firm that all senators and congressmen are not immune from service dismissal issued by their office. Monokson will tell us why.
The Office of the Ombudsman refutes the statements saying that the dismissal or suspension order does not extend to the members of the lower and higher chamber of Congress. According to the Section 27 of Republic Act 6770, or the so-called Ombudsman Law, all the provisionary orders of the Ombudsman are immediately effective and executory. It is also stated in the Rule 3, Section 7 of the Ombudsman Anti-Graft Rules of Procedures that although the decisions can be appealed, the implementation should not be hampered by any rules. On the year 2013, when the order of Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales was released to all the heads of government agencies, obliging them to implement the decision and orders from their office. According to Ombudsman Morales, an administrative disciplinary action will be imposed to any officials who refuse to implement the directives. The Ombudsman does not also believe that in imposing the dismissal order of Senator Joel Villanueva will result to constitutional crisis. If the Senate seeks to hold on their stand to not abide by the dismissal order of the Ombudsman, the Supreme Court should be the one to decide if ever a conflict surfaces in the existing law. Monhok Son, UNTV News and Rescue, Office of the Ombudsman.
Task Force Davao needs to upgrade its equipment in order to better perform its function. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
The Davao City Peace and Order Council met today to assess the security situation in the metropolis. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio says they are still on high alert even if the Davao blast happened almost 3 months ago. She says they need to be on alert to thwart possible spillover of the continuing pursuit against the Abu Sayyaf in Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. Also, the city is considered a high-value target since the president is frequently here and holiday season is already near.
There is an alert for terrorism since this is the time where people usually converge for merrymaking.
On the part of Davao City, there are no terrorist bases here in Davao City, ma'am. most of the terrorists that are threatening Davao City are from western part of Mindanao.
Task Force Davao Commander Colonel Erwin Bernard Neri says they need metal scanners, signal jammers for improvised explosive device, and X-rays to beef up the security efforts around the metropolis. Meanwhile, Mayor Duterte Carpio states that although suspects in the bombing incident have already been captured, the reward money has not yet been given to the informants, awaiting the filing of formal charges in court. The city chief executive also says that there could be other suspects of the crime that are not yet in custody.
If you base it on the matrix, it's more than 30 yun. A person may be involved but you really cannot prove and file charges against them. So they're building up cases against those na meron silang concrete proof of participation.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Rigorous intelligence work yielded good results for the Philippine National Police Anti-Illegal Drugs Group and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency in Quezon City. Juan Ocson will tell us why.
The personnel of the Philippine National Police Anti-Illegal Drugs Group and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency raided a house at 117 Banawi Street, Barangay Manresa, Quezon City, by virtue of a search warrant issued by Judge Fernandez of the Executive Branch of Quezon City RTC. 45 kilos of shabu worth 225 million pesos was confiscated, as well as the equipment used to make and repack shabu such as plastic, weighing apparatus, and foil. According to AIDG Deputy Director for Administration, Police Senior Superintendent Eduardo Asierto, rigorous intelligence work led them to the said address. The authorities arrested 4 suspects. Prior to this, the operatives arrested Ryan Luna yesterday in a buy-bus operation near Mercury Drugs in Aurora Boulevard, Cubao, Quezon City. The police, pretending as a buyer, was buying a kilo of shabu worth 5 million pesos. However, 5 kilos of shabu worth 25 million pesos was found inside the bag. The operatives followed the vehicle that brought Luna to the location, and there, they were able to find a house used as a warehouse of shabu on Banawi Street, Barangay Manresa, Quezon City. The suspects will face charges for violating RA 9165 or the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, Section 6 and 11. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Security measures have been put in place in malls and other public areas in the eastern part of Metro Manila. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
Makikita namin na talagang dadagsa yung mga tao, especially yung mga galing provinces. Siyempre, ano na yan, bakasyon na. No? So we are prepared ngayon pa lang.
Eastern Police District Deputy Director for Administration, Police Senior Superintendent Edwin De Ocampo says around 3,000 personnel are ready to be deployed within the vicinity of shopping malls in Eastern District, particularly in San Juan, Mandaluyong, Pasig, and Marikina to ensure the safety of the public beginning December 1. Though the PNP has not monitored any security threats this holiday season, they are prepared to heighten security status, especially in crowded places. 60 police officers will be assigned at the Green Hill Shopping Center, while 70 will be deployed to Mega Mall and Shangri-La Mall Plaza. Aside from police visibility in mall, churches, parks, and terminals, they will also strengthen their foot patrols.
Establishment of police assistant desks in places of convergence. Deployment of bus marshals, although na ginagawa po namin ito, dagdagan po namin, of transit operations, and conduct of joint PNP and AFP interdiction patrols.
Likewise, they will intensify their intelligence gathering and coordination with force multipliers and volunteer groups who will help maintaining the security, especially ahead of the anniversary of the CPP-NPA on December 26 and the anniversary of the Rizal Day bombing on December 30. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The National Police Commission is likely to submit in December their recommendations regarding the 3 alleged Norco generals to President Rodrigo Duterte. Jun Soriao tells us why.
Attorney Rogelio Casurao, the Vice Chairman and Executive Officer of National Police Commission, confirms today that their investigation on the high-ranking PNP officials tagged as narco generals is already near completion.
I'm very certain na by the first week of December may po-forward na namin yun sa Office of the President.
This, although other issues have already been put behind the investigation. The three generals of the Philippine National Police were the first named by President Rodrigo Duterte last July as among those involved in illegal drugs. Attorney Casurao says they're just finishing their investigation into Chief Superintendent Bernardo Diaz.
So nahuli lang ng konti to si General Diaz because of the investigation taking some time because it has to be done in Region 6.
Although Attorney Casurao did not mention his recommendation, he admits that the country has a deep problem on illegal drugs that was disregarded for a long time.
To me, in fact, yan ang naging general observation. Had this been worked on early on, ngayon lang siguro nagkaroon ng common stand ang ating kapulisan, law enforcement, kaya na-unearth itong mga hidden informations.
Aside from the generals named by President Duterte, NAPOLCOM is also investigating other police officials. Attorney Casurao believes that the proliferation of illegal drugs in a certain area is a proof that the leader in that area has failed to address the problem that has to be resolved.
Ang incidents po, pag nakikita mo laganap sa isang lugar,
yes,
and then probably, and in all likelihood, people who are supposed to look into this were not doing their job.
Jun Suriao, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The purported narco executives are now stripped of deputation powers as investigation continues. Jun Suriao is back to tell us why.
The National Police Commission is now investigating the so-called narco executives or local government executives included in President Rodrigo Duterte's list of personalities involved in illegal drugs trade. Along with the inclusion of their names in the alleged illegal drug operations is the removal of their deputation powers or the control over local police and authority given to incumbent mayors and governors. The respective police details will also be recalled and their permit and firearms registration will also be cancelled. On the talk show Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, Vice Chairman and Executive Officer Attorney Rogelio Casurao explained that such procedure is part of NAPOLCOM's job, particularly under Task Force Aguila, when it comes to the local government executives' involvement in illegal drugs.
I am also involved in the investigation of mayors and governors. The mayors and governors are just deputies of NAPOLCOM insofar as their control over the PNP is concerned. The moment you're listed as one of the personalities in the list of the president, automatic tatanggalan ka namin ng deputation power.
At present, the investigation of the 10 out of more than 30 mayors on the narco executive list has been completed, excluding 2 governors.
More are coming. So far, wala pa sa Metro Manila. We have started with Region 1 up to Nero, yung pinaka-last na region ngayon.
The investigation on the local chief executives would be expedited through waivers. NAPOLCOM can also check their bank accounts as well as their records at the Securities and Exchange Commission and at the Bureau of Immigration. Jun Suriao, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Let's take a look at the traffic situation now on some major roads in Metro Manila. On EDSA Guadalupe and Makati, the flow of vehicles is bumper to bumper on the northbound lane or the lane going to Shaw Boulevard. Motorists are also experiencing heavy flow of vehicles on the lane going to Ayala. Meanwhile, on España Bloom Street, motorists can expect moderate traffic on the lane going to UST. While those going to Welcome Rotonda can expect bumper-to-bumper flow of vehicles.
Next in Y News. The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, works with stakeholders to achieve the economic goals of Executive Order Number 5 or the Ambisyon Natin 2040.
The Department of Transportation launches today its anti-corruption portal to curb corrupt practices among its attached agencies.
The Department Department of Health reports that the number of confirmed Zika virus cases in the country has now reached 33.
Y News will be right back. Overseas Filipino workers were taught proper business and investment practices at the annual OFW and Family Summit. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
Working overseas is not a long-term employment. Hence, it is important that the money saved by OFWs should not be put to waste. This is the aim of the OFW and Family Summit conducted every year by the Villar Sipag or Social Institute for Poverty Alleviation and Governance, Go Negosyo, and various government agencies and companies. OFWs who attended the summit are taught how to become entrepreneurs. Among those encouraged to participate in today's summit is Mang Dante Vito, a former OFW based in the Middle East, who is looking for good ideas on the kind of business to venture in to help support his family.
Imbis na mag-ano ka, yung bang you take the risk na kung wala kang alam sa negosyo, so minabuti ko na baka dito mabibigyan kanila ng tamang pamamaraan.
Villar Sipag's Director Senator Cynthia Villar and Go Negosyo's Joey Concepcion say the summit greatly helps in educating OFWs on how to earn money in the Philippines and how to properly spend the money they saved from working abroad.
Kung meron na silang inaambisyon na magagamitan nila na savings na maliliit na negosyo, I'm sure the more na mag-iipon sila.
You have to really understand anong sabihin mo ang skill level nila na pagdating nila dito na they can start a business.
Aside from financial literacy, resource persons at the summit also discussed various business opportunities like franchising and direct selling, other reintegration programs for OFWs, and how to avoid and prevent illegal recruitment, human trafficking, and business investment scams.
Lalo na pagka mga get rich quick promises, magduda na kayo. So don't get into that. No? Hard-earned money, mawawala lang. So we encourage, first we encourage everyone to really learn.
Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA continues to work with different stakeholders on EO number 5 or the Ambisyon Natin 2040. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Just last October, President Rodrigo Duterte signed the Executive Order number 5 or the 25-year long-term vision or Ambisyon Natin 2040 for the development planning of the Philippines. Under the EO, 4 Philippine Development Plans or PDPs will have been crafted and implemented until 2040. This ensures sustainability and consistency of strategies, policies, programs, and projects across political administrations.
Poverty incidence, yun ang sigurado na kami. Poverty incidence will have to be reduced to 14% by 2022. Yes. The unemployment targets, pinag-uusapan pa siya. The GDP, we have already made again the my targets naman na doon. So that's like I said, 6.5 next year, and then 7 to 8 from 2018 onwards.
According to Vice President Leni Robredo, we should maintain what the Philippines had been called in 2015 as Southeast Asia's strongman and not as it was tagged in the past as the sick man of Asia.
Last month, the Social Weather Station reported that self-rated poverty in the country is at a record low. It agrees with a report released by NEDA earlier this year that poverty levels climbed down to a record low of 26.3% in the first half of 2015.
The Blas F. Ople Policy Training Institute, a non-profit organization, supports NEDA in this move of establishing policies to give sufficient jobs and wages for Filipinos so that they don't have to work overseas.
I think makikita nyo, it's the salary differentials. We need to catch up. Either we increase somehow the salaries as a product of economic growth, yung sinasabi nilang inclusive growth, or diversify the occupations that we have right now, and also bring down the prices of rental, of transportation, of electricity, lahat-lahat tumataas. Ang sweldo hindi naman gaanong tumataas. And yet sa abroad, sa Taiwan, next year, tataas na naman yung minimum wage.
NEDA aims to complete all roadmaps and strategies to fully implement the ambition not in 2040, the soonest time possible. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
More than 80 officials and personnel from the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board and the Land Transportation Office have been relieved and suspended. John Nano will tell us why.
As the Duterte administration intensifies their efforts to combat corruption among government agencies, more than 80 officials and personnel from the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, as well as to the Land Transportation Office, has been relieved and suspended over corruption issues. Based on the latest count presented by the LTFRB, a total of 41 employees have resigned or have been terminated and suspended due to their involvement in corruption. 9 others are still under investigation. At the LTO, 27 employees composed of regional directors, assistant regional directors, and enforcement officers had been relieved due to corruption issues. A district office head was also suspended, while 16 others are now under investigation because of their alleged participation in corrupt practices. In line with this, an anti-corruption portal was also launched earlier today that aims to eradicate corruption among the DOTR as well as to its attached agencies. This includes the LTFRB, LTO, Manila International Airport Authority, and other transportation-related offices. For those who want to report any corruption practices of DOTR attached agencies, just visit www.dotc.gov.ph, click and fill out the necessary information from the DOTR online complaint form. All complaints will be consolidated by the department's digital media group before they are turned over to the officials who will conduct the investigation. On the other hand, the department assures the public that they will keep the identity of the complainants confidential.
Yung mga report are confidential, no? So, kung may mga kasong kailangan i-file, then doon lang natin kakailanganin na magbigay sila ng identity nila to give their statement. But otherwise, we will follow up their allegations. If we need follow-up questions sa kanila, may mga contact number silang ibibigay. But the information that they give us are treated as confidential information.
Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade also reminds all officials and employees under his department on the strict implementation of no gift and no solicitation policy as holiday season approaches. The Secretary warns all the department's employees that once they are caught violating the policy, will be subjected for termination.
I will just have to appeal, kung pwede, wag na kayo magbigay before, during, and after any government transaction that you're going to enter into with the DOTR or with any government agency for that matter.
Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Two senators allay public fears on the president's pronouncement of suspending the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is not serious when he said that he might suspend the privilege of writ of habeas corpus due to the country's problem with rebellion and drug proliferation. This according to Senate Majority Leader Tito Soto, who was with the president yesterday during their preliminary meeting of the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDAC.
It's not serious at all, the issue. No, he's not. It was just a passing thought. Siguro, nasabi niya yun because in the event na the government will not be successful in curtailing the problem of illegal drugs, yun ang mga possibilities. Pero sabi nga niya, kahit martial law, hindi rin masusuko yan basta-basta.
Senate President Aquilino Pimentel III, who was also at the meeting yesterday, says the president was just expressing his ideas on combating the problem of drugs.
Sinabi lang niya na he was just thinking out loud. Hindi naman, wala namang sinabing imminent na eh. Hindi naman po nasabi. Ano lang po, sinabi lang niya na he was just thinking out loud.
Also discussed at the LIDAC preliminary meeting are priority bills of the Duterte administration. These include the tax reform bill, particularly the lowering of income tax, amendments in the Anti-Money Laundering Act, and the reimposition of the death penalty. The president also tackled with the council how the country's drug problem can be solved through legislation.
Yung not only the support but also legislation that would fast track some of the issues they want to take up. Like for example, additional rehabilitation centers, money for the rehabilitation patients. Billion ang gagabutin eh. So yung mga ganon, and then also the issue of the death penalty, and then pinag-usapan yung economic issues.
At least 10 senators were present in the meeting with the president yesterday. While they have discussed some key issues, they have not touched on some important matters like the federalism, charter change, and even traffic congestion. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of Justice has acquired the report of the Anti-Money Laundering Council, or AMLAC, regarding the bank accounts suspectedly used for the drug money from the New Bilibid prison. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre says the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, has been waiting for the AMLAC's report, which could have been included in their complaint against Senator Laila de Lima. However, the report has been sent only yesterday after President Duterte ordered them to do so.
After the President nagdiskurso kahapon, na parang nagagalit siya sa AMLAC. Mga 3 o'clock yun. At 4:30 o'clock, nung kahapon din, dumating yung sagot na nakalagay doon, makita mo 11 November 2016. Yun ang date nung, ibig sabihin, nung 11 pa, dapat iyang ready na.
In other news, lawmakers called the attention of Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar, with one tagging him as incorrigible. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
If Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar tags those who are against Marcos burial at libingan ng mga bayani as temperamental brats, albay Congressman Ed Selagman calls Andanar an incorrigible brat.
Well, that apology is welcome, but it is Secretary Andanar who is the incorrigible brat. Incorrigible brat because he fails to understand history. With respect to the Marcos atrocities.
ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino also said the Duterte administration must be careful in giving comments, especially that a lot of Filipinos are still against this particular action of the government. Andanar, in his opinion column at a newspaper, called those who are against the decision of the Supreme Court as temperamental brats, as well as Americans protesting against the result of U.S. presidential elections. Yesterday, Senate President Coco Pimentel advised Andanar to review his history.
I don't think they're brats. Well, anyway, of course, this is a very emotional issue, but they're not brats, actually. A lot of protesters coming from the poorer segments of society. They can never be called brats. These are actually principled positions, principled stand. So Martin Andanar should review his history.
Andanar made an apology to the public about his opinion and said he has no intention of degrading the struggles of martial law survivors. He also said he is pertaining to those who further divide the country as the temperamental brats. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Department of Health has recorded 10 new cases of Zika virus, bringing the total number of cases to 33. Based on DOH data, 12 Zika virus cases were reported in Iloilo, 11 in Metro Manila, 9 in Calabarzon, and 1 in Cebu. Meanwhile, the DOH is continuously monitoring the condition of a pregnant woman in Region 7 who tested positive for Zika and is expected to give birth in January. The United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF, identifies 2 common illnesses as leading killers of children in lower and middle-income countries. March Navarro will tell us why.
The United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF, says pneumonia and diarrhea together kills 1.4 million children each year, more than all other childhood illnesses combined. In a report released on Friday, November 11th, UNICEF says overwhelmingly, majority of these children live in lower and middle-income countries. This despite the fact that both illnesses are largely preventable through simple and cost-effective solutions, such as exclusive breastfeeding, vaccination, quality primary health care, and reducing household air pollution. The organization reports that pneumonia in particular remains the leading infectious killer of children under 5, claiming the lives of nearly 1 million children in 2015. This amounts to approximately 1 child every 35 seconds and is more than the deaths resulting from malaria, tuberculosis, measles, and AIDS combined. UNICEF says approximately half of all childhood pneumonia deaths are linked to air pollution. Likewise, the agency says diarrhea cases among children in many instances could be linked to lower levels of precipitation caused by climate change. Reduced availability of safe water left children at greater risk of contracting diarrheal diseases and suffering impaired physical and cognitive growth. The fund says nearly 34 million children have died from pneumonia and diarrhea since the year 2000, and estimates that 24 million more children would die from the illnesses by 2030 if without further investment in key prevention and treatment measures. March Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Over 800 residents of a barangay in Balagtas, Bulacan grabbed the opportunity to be served by the medical mission of UNTV Serbisyong Kasangbahay and its partner in public service, the member Church of God International. June Surya will tell us why.
Barangay Burol 2nd in Balagtas, Bulacan has a population of about 15,000. Most of the residents are indigent. Because of this, upon hearing about the medical mission of UNTV and members Church of God International, the residents immediately grabbed the opportunity. Among them is Marilyn Carino, who also brought her 6-year-old child who has been suffering recurring fever for a month due to severe toothache. Marilyn expressed her gratitude as the decayed teeth of her child were extracted. Aside from the free tooth extraction, she also consulted about her child's chronic cough and fever.
Napakahirap po kasi wala po kaming pampabunot sa may bayan. Ngayon po may libre pong bunot dito. Pati po ako nagpa-check up din po ng general check-up. Maraming salamat po sa ADD Foundation. Kay Brother Eli Soriano po, maraming salamat po.
Meanwhile, 26-year-old Jonalyn Cuerdo is overjoyed as her 3 children who have been having cough, cold and fever were attended to during the medical mission.
Malaking tip eh. Libreng gamot, libreng check-up. Sa kagaya namin mahirap. Sana po, Brad Eli, marami pa po kayong matulungan. Maraming salamat po.
Over 800 residents have benefited from free medical consultation, optical and dental services, CBG, and medicines. Because of this, Barangay Councilor Joel Andayan, the requester, expressed his gratitude for the assistance given by Kuya Daniel Razon and Brother Eli Soriano.
Aming populasyon dito ay halos 15,000 at marami ring mga kulang sa pagpapagamot kaya kami humingi ng tulong sa dating daan. Lubos na kami nagpapasalamat kay Kuya Daniel at malaking tulong to sa aming mamamayang mga kapuspalad. Kay Brother Eli, maraming salamat. Sana marami pa kayong matulungan sa ginagawa niyong medical mission na ito.
Jun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Coming up, U.S. President Barack Obama leaves for his final trip overseas as the outgoing U.S. President.
The New York Botanical Garden opens a holiday train that showcases the Big Apple's major landmarks.
PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa takes on a cameo role in Isang Araw Ikatlong Yugto.
More from Y News after this break. Most parts of Luzon will continuously experience rains and cloudy skies. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, says the tail end of a cold front is affecting the central and southern Luzon. Moderate to occasionally heavy rains will continuously be experienced in Quezon, Cavite, Zambales, and Bataan, Metro Manila, and the rest of Calabarzon, rest of Central Luzon, Cagayan, Isabela, Camarines, Mindoro, Marinduque, and Romblon will experience light to moderate rains. Isolated light rains may prevail over the provinces of Ilocos, Cordillera, and the rest of Cagayan Valley. The rest of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. New Zealand authorities have begun evacuating hundreds from the South Island town of Kaikoura. Greg Panganiban will tell us why.
New Zealand Emergency Services and defense personnel began evacuating hundreds of tourists and residents from the South Island town of Kaikoura on Tuesday, November 15, after a powerful earthquake hit the region, killing 2 people. The 7.8 magnitude tremor on Sunday destroyed farm homesteads, sending glass and masonry toppling from high-rises in the capital Wellington and cutting road and rail links throughout the northeast of the South Island. 4 large Defense Force helicopters are flying to the town on Tuesday morning, and the Navy's multi-role vessel HMNZ Canterbury was heading to the area, ferrying rescues to Wood End, a small town 156 kilometers south of Kaikoura. Gale force winds and rain are hampering recovery efforts, and hundreds of aftershocks continue to rock the region. Around 1,200 tourists have been stranded in the town, with many forced to stay in makeshift campsites and make do with whatever food became available.
I never thought that I would have crayfish for breakfast in this situation.
Long queues form outside of supermarket as residents rush to buy supplies. Civil Defense estimated 80,000 to 100,000 landslides had been caused by the quakes.
Overall, the government's priorities remain on both the short, the medium and the long-term issues and the resolution of those. The first is we think there's a list of about 140 people that we're looking to get out of Kaikoura as rapidly as we can. They're on a priority list.
Hundreds of homes remain without power and telecommunications, with huge cracks in roads, landslips, and other damage to infrastructure making it. Greg Panganiban, UNTV News and Rescue, Auckland, New Zealand.
Authorities reopen a 5-lane intersection and finally restores communication and power lines in Fukuoka City. Danny Tixon will tell us why.
Fukuoka City authorities reopened a 5-lane intersection 1 week after it was debarred by a massive sinkhole that appeared near the city center. Repairs to damaged sewage pipes were completed Saturday night, and damage to communication lines were also fixed. Authorities say the sinkhole has been filled with soil, and the Fukuoka municipal government plans to allow vehicles to use the streets when experts on soil foundation structure say it is safe to do so. Altogether, electricity, gas, telephone, water, and sewage services had been knocked out. There were no injuries in the incident.
改めて福岡市が発注した地下鉄の工事によって多くの皆様にご迷惑をおかけしたことをお詫びを申し上げます。申し訳ございませんでした。
The 15-meter deep hole, which measured 30 meters by 27 meters, developed around 5:15 a.m. last Tuesday at an intersection near Hakata Station. It is believed to have been caused by construction work on a subway line extension. Danny Tixon, UNTV News and Rescue, Japan.
U.S. President Barack Obama has departed for Athens, Greece on Monday, November 14, on his farewell tour as the U.S. head of state. His goal is to reassure the country's allies as he prepares to make way for incoming President-elect Donald Trump during the APEC summit in an effort to maintain core U.S. strategic relationships around the world. Despite political hurdles, Trump, who takes office on January 20, has indicated his commitment to maintaining ties with U.S. allies. Obama is visiting Greece, Germany, and Peru on his last trip abroad as president. He is expected to meet German Chancellor Angela Merkel and other European leaders in Germany and Greece. In Peru, he will see Chinese President Xi Jinping and other Pacific leaders at an economic summit. Kevin Pritchard and Sara Kita Ofringa emerged victorious in the windsurfing Maui Aloha Classic. Meanwhile, Ligar Sofer and Julia Rick had the time of their lives at the Wakeboarding World Championships. Aaron Romero will tell us why.
Two champions were crowned at the IWWF Cable Wakeboard World Championships. Israeli competitor Lior Sofer defended his title at the Morelos Aquaski Action Park in Mexico with a score of 87.67, just ahead of his nearest rival, German Dominik Gurs, or DG, who scored 83.67.
I dreamed about it, but I'm really happy. It was a long year. Someone told me today I'm the Rocky Balboa of wakeboarding, so that was a really huge compliment for me, and I'm super happy.
The current European champion and world ranking leader, Germany's Julia Rick, dominated the women's competition. She scored 85.33, well ahead of French Aurélie Godet's 63.00.
I'm so stoked right now to finally get IWWF Open World Champion, and especially after getting WWA World Champion 2 weeks ago, so I'm the total World Champion now.
Meanwhile, day 14 of the windsurfing Maui Aloha Classic. The final day saw Kevin Pritchard of USA defend his single elimination crown to win the classic from Marcilio Brown of Brazil. In the fight for the men's 2016 world title, Fernandez takes his second world title. Mussolini was second and Marcilio Brown of Brazil third. In the women's event, Sara Kita Ofringa of Aruba came through double elimination, denying Susan Hauser of USA the title in a super final. The women's 2016 world title had already been decided in favor of Ibalia Moreno of Spain, with her sister Deida Moreno second and Ofringa third. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
3 Filipino athletes emerged as victors in a 2-day multidisciplinary sports and fitness competition in Singapore. Queenie Balion will tell us why.
So then I fought another guy from the same gym that I trained with in Evolve, and then I beat him. Then luckily I managed to beat him in the finals.
Filipino athletes Malvin Majano, Rawin Magkawas, and Singapore-born Nigel Francis Nocon took home medals for winning in grappling against foreigner players. This event was held in Singapore for the first time and was attended by more than 500 players and showcased 4 main programs.
We call them the multidisciplinary. We have the Dumao, Singapore. We have the powerlifting invitational. We have the Still-Up tournament, plus this behind me will be the Commonwealth Wrestling Championships.
Grappling refers to techniques, maneuvers applied to an opponent in order to gain a physical advantage, such as improving relative position, escaping, submitting, or injury to the opponent, while Dumao is the battleground of grappling. For grappling winner Malvin, his victory is just a start for him to prepare his next match.
Ko sana sa atin sa Pilipinas, Pan Pacific, or the next sa Japan. Sana. Huwag na ako mag-prepare.
While for Rawin, he has to prioritize on more important things.
I'm gonna focus on my wedding first, and then I'll see how it goes with my fiance over there. Then I'll see how it is.
The organizers of the Mao 2016 hope to attract more athletes and judges for the next year events and encourage the players both new and old to continue honing their skills. Queenie Balion, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore.
At the New York Botanical Garden Holiday Train Show, delightful toy trains travel through New York's most popular neighborhoods and landmarks. Aaron Romero will tell us why.
The whistles blow as the train chug along the tracks through many of New York's most popular landmarks, including Grand Central Terminal, Rockefeller Center, and the New York Public Library, as the New York Botanical Gardens Holiday Train Show begins. The New York Botanical Gardens Holiday Train Show is in its 25th year and has become a must-see holiday tradition.
I think that it's become a tradition for a lot of people. I think that children who grew up coming to the train show are bringing their children back to the train show. I think it's one of those things that grandparents like and parents like and kids like. I think there's really not anybody that I can think of that doesn't like trains.
A variety of toy trains snake through the display, including modern passenger trains, cargo trains, trains from the children's show Thomas and Friends. The holiday train show features more than 150 replicas of New York landmarks, which are all made from natural materials, including wood, pine cones, plant parts, and seeds.
So there's some really great surprises when you take a closer look. I love some of the chimneys are made out of acorn caps, and a lot of the roofs are made out of pine cone scales for each individual shingle. Marquees like the Apollo Theater or Rockefeller Center, they are made out of radish seeds. So there's just really great surprises everywhere.
The newest additions to the show are a few landmarks from Brooklyn's Coney Island, including the Cyclone roller coaster, which is among the oldest roller coasters in the United States. The holiday train show is on track to open to the public on Saturday and runs until Monday, January 16 at the New York Botanical Garden, the Bronx. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
Scenes in the movie Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto just got more exciting with no less than the PNP chief himself joining the cast. Brian Evangelista will tell us why.
Before he rose to fame, PNP Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa was a simple cop, not used to getting attention. But his growing popularity as President Duterte's frontman in the government's fight against illegal drugs made him an unexpected star, with supporters stopping at their tracks to take a selfie with him or just to say hello. So joining the cast of Kuya Daniel's advocacy film Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto, there is definitely no way for General Bato not to be the center of the limelight.
Kukuha na lang natin. Gusto kong ilabas dun sa inyo. Kung ano yung ninyo ngayon, sentimento ninyo ngayon. Parang ito yung nangyayari, merong bumabakbak sa atin, kailangan natin intensify yung natin, campaign natin, dahil ito yung sitwasyon ngayon.
Though his taking part in the film was unexpected, the gig was a walk in the park for the chief, as he was just being himself in front of the camera, drawing motivation from his day-to-day life.
Actually, I was not acting. I was just doing what is I am doing. Yung daily routine ko, yung daily na ginagawa ko, parang ganun lang. So there was no really acting about it. I'm just being me and my normal self.
General Bato is delighted about the movie's theme, which he describes as a big moral booster to our police.
Ang problema talaga natin yung public perception na matagal nang sinasabi na ang pulis ay kurakot, ang pulis ay masama, ang pulis ay kutong, ang pulis ay abusado. Gusto natin magbago yung pagtingin ng taong bayan sa kanilang kapulisan.
He thanks Kuya Daniel for giving him the chance to be part of the film.
Excited. Masaya. At least through this picture, may parating natin sa taong bayan yung gusto nating may parating na mensahe. Pasalamat po ako kay Kuya Daniel. Malaking tsansa, malaking karangalan itong pagkakataon na binigay niyo sa amin.
That's why through the movie Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto, the Chief PNP invites everyone, police and civilians alike, to support the PNP in its campaign and give the police and the government a chance to restore peace and order in the country.
Kayo po'y mas lalong ma-enlighten at kayo po'y mas lalong gaganahan na sumuporta sa inyong kapulisan, sa inyong gobyerno, sa ating gobyerno. Pag kayo'y manonood sa itong palabas na ito, marami po kayong matutunan at marami kayong madidiscover na hindi pa nyo nalalaman. So sana panoorin nyo itong palabas na ito At hindi po ito pampropaganda lang ng kapulisan, kundi ito po'y magpapakita kung ano talaga ang totoong nangyayari.
Brian Evangelista, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, November 15, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching. Why News.